Welcome to the second part of The Beauty of Shooting from a Muzzleloader. In the first part, we enjoyed the beauty of shooting from short muzzleloaders, pistols and revolvers. We looked at just what muzzleloaders are, the principle of how their flintlocks work, and why so many of us have fallen for their beauty. Thanks to the willingness of Shotbox, which once again lent us a slow-motion camera, thanks to the help of the Knežmost shooting range and the services of several colleagues, sporting shooters who have lent us their guns and shot them in front of the camera, in this second part of the documentary we can enjoy the uniqueness and beauty of shooting from long muzzle loaders, rifles and shotguns, once again in all their glorious details. It took time to prepare the guns and the filming equipment, and in the meantime the weather took a turn for the worse. Slow motion film requires a lot of light, so we were worried if we would be able to film at all. Despite the weather, we feel the film turned out rather well, as you'll see. We start with a Matchlock muzzleloader, historically the oldest muzzleloader used in competition. We use a replica of the 18mm caliber Matchlock Soule musket from 1640. The slow-motion film shows how the Matchlock works and the glory of shooting from a muzzleloader. Note the power of the recoil and its effect on the shooter. This recoil is typical for most muzzle loaders, both short and long, but it is only in slow motion that we can fully understand the dynamics and power our body must absorb when shooting. The second gun in front of the camera is a Flintlock muzzleloader. Flintlocks dominated the muzzleloaders from the 16th to the 19th century. The first gun to be shot is a replica of a 14mm caliber hunting flintlock rifle from the 1830s. These guns were produced by a number of gunsmiths of greater and lesser renown, and they were used by the owners of hunting grounds and their staff. To begin with, Flintlock muzzleloaders did not have rifling, so they were not very accurate. They were later replaced by guns with rifling. The reliability of the Flintlock did not attain that of the later percussion cap or contemporary cartridge-based systems. Sometimes the shooter had to count on delayed ignition and even total failure to discharge. Roughly 15 to 25% of shots failed.
Nenašel jsem klíče. Mě fascinuje, jak ta flinta jde nejdřív dozadu, to znamená koule letí ven a pak se prosačí.
This original 13.72mm caliber flintlock rifle, signed by gunsmith Josef Breitenfelder from Karlovy Vary, was first produced in the first half of the 19th century and is a great example of the standard hunting rifle from those times. A common cause of failure to discharge were a worn frizzen or a poorly knapped flintstone. In our case, it sufficed to replace the flint. The percussion cap, used from the 1830s, is demonstrated here by a replica of the 14.65mm caliber Enfield Navy 1858 military percussion rifle. Compared to the Flintlock, the percussion rifle was a great improvement, not just due to its reliability, but also because of the number of rounds that could be fired. The barrel was grooved, which decreased the scatter and increased accuracy. Another example of a mass-produced percussion rifle is the military Lorenz rifle from 1854, with a caliber of 13.9mm. This rifle was designed by the Austrian gunsmith Josef Lorenz. In 1861, he received the status of nobility and was called Josef Ritter von Lorenz. Lorenz rifles were produced in three basic types: a short-range rifle for infantry regiments, a medium-range rifle for ranger battalions, and a long-range rifle for special units called Extra Corps Gewehr, which was designed for sappers, scouts, cavalry, police officers, mounted gendarmes, as well as for medics. This example is an original from the Extra Corps, made in 1860.
Jo, jsem vojenskou dávku, no. Jako dobrovolník.
A ten první kouš, co tam je, to je zážeh návod.
The third percussion rifle is an historical original of the 11.43mm caliber target rifle, produced by gunsmith Josef Labler from Brandy's nad Labem in 1850. These rifles usually had a lower caliber and were used strictly for target shooting. We will use this original target rifle to show several slow-motion hits on a target. We were limited by the capabilities of the slow-motion camera, so we could not place the target at the usual distance. However, the demonstration of its precision is still quite impressive. Shotguns that shoot a lot of smaller projectiles with higher calibers and smooth barrels were produced along with standard rifles. Shotguns were used for hunting small animals or for shooting a moving target.
Taky to máš, taky to je hejno.
For shooting at clay pigeons, we will start with a replica of the Galleon, a 12-bore flintlock shotgun produced by the Italian company Euro Arms. The second shotgun is an historical original of a 16-bore Flintlock shotgun. Unfortunately, it is not signed, so we don't know the maker of this weapon, but it was probably made in Europe at the beginning of the 19th century. The third replica is a 12-bore Galleon Percussion shotgun from Euro Arms. This historical original of a 12-bore percussion shotgun, signed by gunsmith H. Bales, Ipswich, was made in England in 1860 and is a fine example of the excellent craftsmanship of gunsmiths in those times. We also have a second original 12-bore percussion shotgun. Once again, the origin of this gun is unknown. The slow-motion film allows us to observe what happens when the clay pigeon target is hit, something the human eye is not capable of in real time. So let's see. You can clearly notice the cluster of shot before it hits the target. To give you a better idea, we have slowed the film down even more. Today, we will use the slow-motion camera to not only show you the beauty of shooting from a muzzle loader, but also to measure how long it takes. In the first part of the video, we measured how long it takes for short muzzle loaders, and the result surprised a lot of sport shooters. Now we will focus on long muzzle loaders. We will use the number of frames for measuring. We used a frequency of 2000 frames per second. One frame lasts 5/10,000ths of a second. We calculate the duration of the shot from the first visible movement of the trigger to the moment when the bullet leaves the barrel. By multiplying the number of frames by the duration of one frame, we get the total duration of the shot. We will measure the guns in the order that they have been presented. Let's start with the Matchlock Muzzleloader. We counted 268 frames, which is 0.134 seconds. The second rifle is a replica of a Flintlock Muzzleloader for hunting. We counted 160 frames, which is 0.08 seconds. The historical original of the Flintlock Muzzleloader, produced by Josef Breitenfelder, needed 0.102 seconds to fire. Theoretically, percussion lock rifles that were made later should be faster. First we measured this replica of the Enfield military model. We measured 0.19 seconds. The Lorenz military percussion rifle also needed 0.19 seconds to fire. This historical original of a percussion target rifle from the gunsmith Labler needed 0.014 seconds to fire. So, how do shotgun muzzleloaders measure up? This replica of a Galleon flintlock shotgun can discharge in 0.075 seconds. An historical original of a flintlock shotgun fires in 0.082 seconds. The replica of the Galleon percussion shotgun needs 0.013 seconds to fire. The historical original of the percussion shotgun, produced by English gunsmith H. Bales, fires in 0.01 seconds. The second original percussion shotgun that we used needs just 0.009 seconds to fire. To compare historical muzzle loaders and modern rifles, we have film from an 8x57 JS caliber Mauser 24 rifle, produced by the Czech company Zbrojovka Brno, and a 12-bore single-barreled shotgun with an outer hammer. We measured 0.007 seconds for the Mauser rifle. The shotgun needed 0.006 seconds to fire. To finish off, we will use the camera to find out how much time a shooter with a muzzle-loading shotgun needs to hit the clay pigeon. This is Zdeněk Vošoust, the Czech champion and record holder. First, we use an original 16-bore flintlock shotgun. From the time the target was released until it was hit, we measured 1.06 seconds. The standard speed of a clay pigeon target in the air is 25 meters per second, so it has travelled 27 meters during this time. The replica of the Galleon 12-bore percussion shotgun needed 0.91 seconds to hit the target. The target travelled 23 metres during this time. Another interesting fact is the distance the target travels from firing the weapon to the moment the projectile hits the target, when the shooter cannot influence the projectile. The original Flintlock shotgun needed 0.16 seconds to hit the target. The target had travelled 4.08 metres during this time. The replica of the Galleon percussion shotgun needed 0.07 seconds to hit the target, with the target travelling 1.7 metres. Once again, we have used a slow-motion camera to delight all those that love muzzle-loading guns, as well as to gain some new knowledge. We are glad that many gun lovers around the world have taken up this hobby, as it is important for the continuity of this beautiful activity. Both memories as well as proof of the great craftsmanship of these long-gone gunsmiths would fade away without these enthusiasts. So it gives us great pleasure to be able to help preserve these values by means of this documentary. We look forward to meeting all those lovers of shooting history that will watch this documentary, and not necessarily on the shooting ranges.